Week 5 still alive are the 16 teams fighting their way to San Francisco. Welcome to the WGLNA. I'm Joshua Gray.
And I'm Randall Holcomb. Last week we had Talking Tanks, and just before that was our last matches. It's been a whole week since then.
And we had a great time during Talking Tanks. We know a lot of you really enjoyed this show. MacG announced his retirement at the end of the season. We also were joined by Ute and Oliver Maxfield over across the pond, chiming in from the EU League. Shout out to them as well, to Ollie, Lauren, and Melly.
Hashtag Team Lauren.
Hashtag Team Lauren, that's right. Looking forward to tonight's matches. Got a lot of great ones really lined up, and a lot of the separator-type matches too, Randall, of who's going to stay in the running in the playoffs and towards the top of the standings, and who's going to fall for the relegation.
Yeah, that whole middle group is absolutely insane.
Let's take a look at the scores from our previous night of broadcasting for matches. Top tier won against Noble 5-3. RBIS versus Simp. RBIS could not do it. In Season 4, they were able to get the victory over Simp at the playoffs, but this time they fell 5-2. Roulette versus Fun Gaming, 5-4 in an incredible tiebreaker. And Elevate took out Victoria's Secret 5-4.
Yeah, that Roulette Fun Gaming one, putting the crown back on Roulette's head there. So
the Eastern Bloc crown
yeah.
for these different teams. We give them the Eastern Bloc type of championship between the two, the rivalry, because they have a lot of players from Russia on both of those teams. But still trying to kind of find these outlier teams, these outlier tactics on all of these maps for some of these teams, and then seeing a lot of patterns as well of which maps are they choosing, where are they going, and Himmelsdorf Northwest Corner seems to be like the defender's choice for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, and we're seeing some maps being picked more heavily, like by Simp, they'll pick open maps, and some people still going towards Himmelsdorf. It's a tiebreaker today, actually.
Let's take a look at the non-broadcasted streams for our last match day. Cunningham's fell to I Love Lamp 5-4. That's not a typo. You saw those matches,
Yeah,
Randall.
yeah. We were just talking about Himmelsdorf. That was the one that really killed him. Cunningham just wasn't on their game. I Love Lamp looked pristine, and Commander J said just as much as that.
Full Potato 5-2 timed out. Hammer Time 5-4 against Simply Irresistible in a tiebreaker, and Simple Tinkers against Penguin Mafia, another tiebreaker, 5-4.
Yeah, that Penguin Mafia tiebreaker, I was surprised to find out those were the results. Proves that Penguin Mafia has a little bit more than we thought they did.
A little bit more of that fire in some of these newer teams. Let's take a look at one of the matches more in depth that happened during our last match day. That was Noble versus Top Tier. And Top Tier on the up and up a little bit, at least against Noble in this match.
Yeah, they looked much better, cleaner. Their play style seemed to be effective against Noble. Noble trying to play together and have that synergy. It seems kind of like they're forcing it isn't quite the right word, but I feel like you're getting close to it when you're talking like that about Noble.
Close enough, sure. I mean, but we keep kind of hearkening back to Noble's performance from the previous season and leading on into this season, and how they are in a bit of a rut right now. They need to kind of build themselves back up out of where they're finding themselves over a number of losses, unfortunately.
Yeah, they've changed everything.
Well, they still have a number of matches to work their way back up in the standings. Moving on to Simp versus RBIS. And this is quite the series because of what was at stake for both these teams here, but also a little bit of the history with RBIS taking down Simp in the playoffs in Season 4, making a difference when it came to seeding.
Yeah, it was absolutely a good match. Simp on top, playing just as they should. RBIS bringing a few matches to them. We're able to take 2 off of them, which you have to give respect to RBIS. That's the same record Hammer Time was able to get against them. And Simp, as always, is doing great. Talked about MacG is retiring. Blue Boys making most of the calls. This is Blue Boys playing a 1390, making those calls, leading the team.
And MacG wanted to emphasize that this should not be the main storyline when it comes to Simp of his retirement. And we agree with him to an extent. I mean, Simp has been performing very, very well with or without the public knowledge of MacG's intentions. But Blue Boys captain calling the shots. I'm looking forward to see what else he can do throughout the rest of the season, and if anybody can really touch Simp. That's kind of becoming the question of this season.
Yeah, well, we also had Elevate versus Victoria's Secret last week, and that one was very telling. We had Victoria's Secret playing much better than we expected, and Elevate made it a solid match coming out on top.
Yeah, in the end, though, Amirovanka get another tiebreaker. Elevate still able to barely get through this. And we saw some good plays here and there sprinkled around this match, but also mistakes and hesitations on executions. Victoria's Secret, unfortunately, has been having roster problems this season as well. But you have to overcome that. Not everything's going to be perfect. Not everything's going to go your way. What matters is what happens on the battlefield. And in the end, it was Elevate securing a tiebreaker victory in this sense. Elevate still in that mid-range, trying to fight their way towards the top. Looking maybe slightly better compared to last season, a little bit more cohesion and consistency, but there needs to be more of it for them to continue to get better and better.
Yeah, that's easily said for both teams. They'll make it. It takes some time. These guys are newer. This is the Gold League. This is the highest level of skill, and they're reaching for that potential.
And a lot of them have to maybe reset some of their tactics or go back to the fundamentals of what makes a great tanker.
Yeah, and, well, if you're going to look for that, I mean, E63M6 had something to say about that. And let's go ahead and take a look at its tactics piece. Greetings, I'm Randall Rookhill Holcomb, and joining me is E63M6, and we're going to talk about marksmanship. E63M6 is on top tier, one of the premier teams in the Gold League, and, well, let's get to it. Marksmanship. How do you break it down?
Today I'm going to talk about dispersion circle first and pre-aiming.
The dispersion circle. You mentioned that first. What's probably the most key factor or the key points you want to raise about that?
Okay, key fact of that one is 90% of your shots will land inside of that circle, and only 4.2% of it will sit on the edge of the circle, and 0.2% of it will betray players.
Let's move on to the final point, the pre-aiming.
Pre-aiming is an essential skill for the marksman, because we are not just aiming at the stationary target. We have to aim to the moving target, which can be slow or fast. Usually people try to catch the target by moving their turret to follow the target. However, it lowers the accuracy of the gun significantly, so you can't just follow the target. So you need to pre-aim at where your target is moving to, so that the target and your shell can be connected at some exact point.
That can be pretty difficult, especially when you're at, ranges of 400, 500 meters. But I guess it's a matter of just figuring out your shells.
Yes, you need to calculate the point based on your aiming speed, and shell speed, and the target speed.
Thank you, E63M6, for coming out, representing top tier, and teaching us about marksmanship.
Thank you for inviting me here, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this one.
All right, we'll see you guys on the battlefield.
Great to hear from E63M6 on how to be a better marksman. Definitely a lot of practical advice there for any type of tanker to get better at this game.
Exactly. He laid everything out. You have the basis for what you need to be a good marksman, and you can move forward with all of those lessons.
Yeah, and how to set up for those shots as well is really, really important. Getting ahead of your target, as we'll see the pros do tonight. The first matchup that we have underway is going to be RBIS versus Hammer Time starting the night. And RBIS looks good, looks solid, and is one of the most consistent teams when it comes to performance based on their standings right now. Currently in third place. Last season they finished in third place, and they've had a notable number of victories coming up against Victoria's Secret, Elevate, Noble, Simple Tankers, and Penguin Mafia. Their losses have been against Top Tier and Simp, and they had 2 battle wins over Simp, so they definitely made Simp fight for it. RBIS is, again, tonight, though, going to be tested against a veteran team.
Yes, but Hammer Time has the exact same record against Simp, that 2-5 loss. So we don't have an indicator based on Simp as kind of a bar who's going to play better. Now, Hammer Time lost to Cunningham's Simp, and I believe you already mentioned Top Tier and Simp being the losses for RBIS. So just a little bit of variation there. I feel like Hammer Time is my favorite team in this matchup, but there's still that itch that RBIS has just as much chance to win.
If it ends in a tiebreaker and Hammer Time wins, then they'll both be tied for third place. But this is the opportunity for both teams to solidify better their positions towards the top. Moving on, I Love Lamp versus Elevate. Now, I Love Lamp had a huge tiebreaker victory against the Cunninghams. And Randall, you got to watch that match.
Yeah, I Love Lamp Cunninghams was strange. It threw me off because I'm used to watching I Love Lamp and Cunningham's play, and the Cunninghams always seem so on top and able to understand their opponent, but something was off form. Something was different for the Cunninghams. They weren't playing the way I expected, or I was misinterpreting that, and that was I Love Lamp playing phenomenally, which they did. They brought it to a good match. Everything about it was respectable. They brought strategies which were comprehensive.
Elevate in 11th place right now. If this is a match for them to climb above and to get towards that middle ground, this is definitely that match against I Love Lamp tonight. Following that matchup, we have the Cunninghams versus Victoria's Secret, which is quite the David versus Goliath matchup for tonight.
Yeah,
the
Victoria's
Cunninghams are looking great, but yeah.
Yeah, I want to focus on Victoria's Secret because the Cunninghams, is understandable. If they drop tonight's match, that's mind-blowing. But if Victoria's Secret rises to the occasion, that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm hoping for because I want to see that David and Goliath match. I want to see David throw that rock and just hit him square in the forehead.
Well, we saw the Goliath fall one time against I Love Lamp, so Victoria's Secret may have a little bit of a pep in their step, or maybe a little bit of confidence building a little bit, at least talking to I Love Lamp after that series. But you look at where they are placed right now, 14th place up against the Cunninghams, the second place. This is a huge, huge gap. And if anything was to happen that we don't expect, and the audience I'm sure is not expecting at all, in another tiebreaker series, even if it's a victory in a tiebreaker of Cunningham's, I think Cunningham's may have to look at some readjustment with what they're doing currently, or they may be experimenting and underestimating these different teams. The final matchup tonight is going to be Simp versus Simply Irresistible.
And that's the heavyweight right there. We've got Simp champions right now. Well, not quite champions, but at least leading the way so much that you could almost jump to that conclusion against Simply Irresistible. I mean, they're playing well. They look much better than we expected. They've exceeded expectations if they continue to. Maybe a 5-3. If they bring Simp to a tiebreaker, I'm already impressed with Simply Irresistible.
I have one of the quotes from the team representatives from Simply Irresistible on their matchup against Hammer Time, which they had a tiebreaker and then lost. It was an excellent back-and-forth series where Hammer Time just played slightly better. We missed a lot of shots and opportunities. Their experience paid off in the end, and they were able to take the last two matches to turn around from 4-3 to 5-4. So with the experience of Hammer Time and now the experience of Simp, still an uphill battle for Simply Irresistible, but I'm sure it's going to be a great one. And those are the matches for tonight. I'm really looking forward to seeing, again, more of Simply Irresistible's type of performance. The currently fifth-place team right now, tied with Simple Tankers.
Yeah, and they separate that top four from everyone else. And this is the day where they could break out. Tiebreaker is what Simply Irresistible needs to get that little bit ahead and just start joining that top four. Especially with some of the other matches going on tonight, this could flip everything around. We were talking about there was a top four and it seems solidified. No. That could go completely out the window.
Changes can still abound here as we start week number 5. Our first matchup of RBIS versus Hammer Time begins after this. Stay tuned.
I would say that we're kind of a success. Like, we've made money from this game, which is more than most people can say, and we're kind of proud of that. I could see it as being a reason we're successful. Yeah, we don't really see the pressure because, yeah, we don't take it that seriously. Like, we're happy as long as we do well and that our personal play is not terrible. So if we have bad games, it's not something good, but everyone has bad games, and as long as you try and make up for it. Big losses don't really do all that much to our team. Precam internalizes a lot of stuff. He takes the blame for pretty much everything anyone will throw at him, so he absorbs that negativity so no one else has to. He tries to make us focus on the next game, and he does a really good job as captain doing that, honestly. One of our failures as a team was just rushing into things. Like, you can take your time to think, and you don't have to instantly react to a lot of things. In Seattle against #RU, we did a couple dumb moves because we thought we had all the information, and it just didn't turn out that we did. And it led to us getting wrecked, which isn't fun for anyone.
A new team from last season fighting against another veteran. This is match number 1 of RBIS versus Hammer Time. Thanks again for joining us. We begin this first matchup. As always, love to remind everybody to please follow us on Twitter at WGLNA. Facebook.com/WGLNA, and make sure to use that hashtag so we can find your tweets and put them up on the broadcast.
Now, don't forget about the question of the day. And just so you know, the tiebreaker is Himmelsdorf. So who will break the Northwest Himmelsdorf defense today? We know it's going to happen. Come on, there's been a tiebreaker every single match day. We're going to see it. Who's going to break that defense? Who's going to hold it maybe, and how's it going to happen? And
if they're able to do it and it looks good enough, we may have it as one of our highlight pieces on our YouTube channel. You can check out those videos at youtube.com/WGLNA. The face-off is ready between our two team representatives. Gentlemen, good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Welcome to the face-off. Let's start with Amanda Hugginkiss, a.k.a. Jackie Rudo, a.k.a. the team rep for RBIS. A really good fight against Simp. but a tough loss. How have you guys prepared for this series against another veteran team, Hammer Time?
Prepared. I think we scrimmed a couple of times, and because we actually do want to get the free trip. So that's about it. Actually, we put in a little bit more work than usual. Try to iron out what actually happened in the sim games. That's basically it.
And for you specifically, Jackie Rudo, playing on a team such as RBIS, formerly yourself from Fulcrum, aka Fnatic, what has been the major shift for you from changing from Fnatic to this team?
Well, it's not only the team that changed and the environment. It's really about my attitude and really about what I expect to get out of this most of the time. In terms of the team, it's a lot more relaxed. Everyone's a lot more laid back. Just playing this for fun. Although winning is nice, but in terms of how I take it is different because I really don't care anymore. I'm just playing the game. I'm
You're
just
here to
playing
have
with
fun?
a bunch of friends.
Well, it's definitely
I'm
fun.
Just playing for fun.
Good fights?
Yeah, good fights.
Yeah,
Good fights.
good
Definitely
fights,
fun to
little
be in
dollar
third
sign.
place, for sure. Let's check in with your opponents tonight. Hammer Time, we have Liebestad standing by. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. What's up, Clutch?
Another day, another dollar, and another piece of gold maybe for some of our tankers here tonight. Question for you is, the performance of your team has looked very stellar right now, and you have a chance to overtake RBIS. Does your team focus a lot on the standings and the future, or do you play it match by match twice a week?
I think our team's definitely aware of our status in the standings, which is okay. But I think what our team is mostly concerned about is our level of play, which has been too inconsistent so far. You know, this is a really important match. If we win this, then we're a real contender for coming in the top 2 spots, which get a bye, which automatically go to the finals. So, you know, we win this, we have a good chance of achieving that. We lose this, be very difficult for us to do that. So important match, and yeah, I think that answered your question.
Liebestad, I want to ask you first, and then I'll ask Jackie in a second. With Himmelsdorf being the tiebreaker tonight, are you guys afraid of going that far in the series?
No, we're not afraid of Himmelsdorf. You know, we've played Himmelsdorf quite a bit. We're familiar with it. Not worried about it. Personally, I feel more comfortable in Himmelsdorf than other maps.
Attack or defense? Any preference there?
Well, defense definitely has the advantage on every map. Himmelsdorf is one of the more balanced maps, but yeah, I mean, almost certainly we pick defense unless we have some crazy attack strategy that we know will win, but by default we pick defense.
All right, and then Jackie, I want to also address the same question to you. Are you guys feeling like Himmelsdorf is going to play into this series?
If it actually comes down to the tiebreaker, which I don't think it will be, then yes, the Himmelsdorf is one of those maps that everyone knows is a little bit different than the rest.
It's scary to attack on. There's a lot of chances that a team can mess up, and I was just wondering if that was going to come into play in this series for you.
It just may. We'll have to find out, though. Jackie Rudo, a.k.a. Amanda Hug and Kiss, do you have any words for your opponents before we start?
No, good luck. It's always been a pleasure fighting Hammer Time, and you know, as many of you I've actually known for the last couple of years. I guess Friction says hi to his twin brother, Drynitz. Never forget. And yeah, good game. Hope to have a good game.
All right. Liebestad, any words?
Just big respect for RBIS and what they accomplished last season, and we know they're one of the best teams, and may the best team win.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Good luck. We'll see you on the battlefield.
Thank you.
And right now you can place your bets at the beginning of every single battle. It's real easy. You always start out with 10 points if you're just joining us. If you have any questions, the people in chat are standing by to help you out. Badco, our moderator, is there as well. Now, at the end of the night tonight, you can check your points at WGLConnect.com to see if you're one of the top performers. The top performers have an opportunity to take home a nice little prize. Again, betting begins at the beginning of every single battle.
And now let's move on to the subject that I was trying to get to in those questions, which is Himmelsdorf. Now, Himmelsdorf, you can defeat the Northwest defense, but I think it's one of the most difficult defensive positions that any map in the 7x54 format has. It is the biggest problem to solve. It requires incredible timing, individual players performing absolutely perfectly, and then it depends on your opponent not having that perfect response ready. Because no matter what attack you bring to your opponent, they can have an appropriate defense and a deflection for that if they're set up for it. If they're set up and you mislead them and you tell them, I'm going to attack heavy on the south side, and they posture for that, and you attack heavier on the north, you can come out ahead. But not guaranteed. Everything must go perfect. Your team has to play absolutely flawlessly, and that's what Himmelsdorf is, which is why I'm afraid for some of these teams, because first we're going to see Prohorovka, then Steps, and then if it goes to a tiebreaker, Himmelsdorf. And with these two teams, RBIS Hammer Time, it seems reasonable that that's going to happen.
Take a look at the rosters for both these teams. You see RBIS. We saw Amanda Hugginkiss in the face-off, led by Precambrian. I'm looking forward to watching Ox Mathis's performance tonight, and then on the side of Hammer Time, the shout-out coming towards Drynitz from Friction. That was pretty funny.
Come to think of it, they do look very similar.
A little bit. They could maybe be distant relatives in some way or another. As we move on into match number 1 of RBIS versus Hammer Time, everything is on the line for these two teams, at least in standings. Can RBIS hold their third place, or will Hammer Time try to take it from them? We're going to find out. What do we have for tanks in battle number 1, Randall?
All right, so on the attacking side, the red team will be RBIS, and they start with a T-32, 1390s, 2 of them, 2 RU-251s, and they're going to finish it out with 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs with Akiyama and Anomaly. On the other side, Hammer Time, defending, is going to choose 2 T-32s, Drynitz in that waffle, 2 RU-251s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. This is something that Hammer Time has pulled out before.
Amanda Hugginkiss, Gabriel Angelos, Mi Amigo, and Anamable are heading towards the west on Prohorovka, while Akiyama's taking the scout route towards the north.
And I see Overlord Prime making his way across the middle for an opening scout run, sees what he sees. I think Akiyama was probably the only spotted tank there. Everything else to the south is stealthily in that southwest position. So Hammer Time doesn't have a strong indication yet of where their opponent is going, but let's start to take that apart. Looking at it, Hammer Time didn't see anything go over the mid tracks, right? Nothing went over into the east there. Then that tells them that's not the strategy, right? So they can be in the southeast or the southwest, but nothing is in the middle yet. So from here, you say, what are my options? What is my opponent going to do? Drynitz is in a solid position. They're postured well enough to be able to detect and possibly deflect east side. But with west side coming, Overlord Prime is on a route, which in a moment will allow him to spot RBIS tanks and then begin working on that.
Movement continuing from RBIS towards the north. And Akiyama right behind Amanda Hugginkiss and Anomaly here. Overlord Prime was getting close to that flag cap, then backed away.
Liebestad fires.
Spotted. Well, he was spotted for 323. There's a hit.
Yeah, and now Anomaly will close the distance. There's some firing from the backfield. That's Ox Mathis and Gabriel, who are in RU-251s, and there he goes. That's Liebestad down.
And Akiyama and Anomaly are pushing in towards Zazie and Nitz. Nitz is going to fall back. Akiyama very low, and the traded fire will destroy his tank, while the rest of his teammates try to return fire towards Nitz and Zazie, still staying in that northern section. Red team hanging back as Jackie Rudo, aka Amanda Hugginkiss, goes down.
Ooh, combo hit right onto Zazie. 2 shells taking him down to half health. Now 2 big tanks are down, Nitz and Liebestad. But with Drynitz still on the field, the edge still goes to Hammer Time on the defense. He can change this battle with 1 connection. And as I go to Drynitz, I see he's got the smaller of the 2 guns, the mouse cannon, for his tank, and he's just kind of waving around. I guess nothing's spotted right now. Sella looks like he's looking towards him. Shot fired and no connection. So that's going to be a bit of a disengagement after a sloppy one at the beginning from RBIS. They do come out behind on tanks, but hit points wise, it's not too far off.
It's still battle 1, still testing the battlefield for both teams here. 4 minutes and 5 seconds left on the battle clock. Long range shot fired. No connection, it looks like. A little bit more movement coming from the red team, looking to move in against that flag cap. Sella staying real close to a hold down position, as Photo Finish and Big Cheese could be moving forward to either quell this tank with its long-range fire and beautiful armor, or to assault. Mi Amigo's pushing up.
Now it's going to be an assault. They know they have the advantage in numbers. 2 T-32s versus 1 means they can play this hold-down game and begin playing with Sella's turret. He can't look both directions at once, so he's going to get penned even on his turret because he can't angle it properly. Now there will be bounces, and it does look like Big Cheese is overexposed. Nice response from RBIS to create a crossfire onto the T-32 and punish that aggression.
3 shots into the side of Big Cheese is Overlord Prime, trying to hold back Ox Mathis and Mi Amigo. Sella's hit for 264. Looking at the rear guard, Gabriel Angelos far away from the firefight, not close enough to help with any push or to defend against a reverse assault coming from the defenders. A Big Cheese is going to be targeted for 2 nice shots coming from the red team RBIS, and he goes down.
But the responses are here. Zazie overwatching Ox Mathis and Mi Amigo. They don't have many shells left. Overlord Prime is here as well. Ox Mathis and Mi Amigo don't have much to work with. Oh, wow, they still have enough shells to do it. Okay, that could come to bite him, but Overlord is going to pick up that kill on a 1390. And with that, he can begin hunting Mi Amigo at full health as he's going to start running away into enemy territory.
Sella is low, another hit for 250, and that tank is 1 shot away from falling. He's trying to cover Gabriel Angelos' movement, but he can't do it in time. Photo Finish with a lot of health left is able to get that kill.
And now Gabriel Angelos has shown up, firing right into Dryness. If he loads HE, which right there, that was HE, bad connection for 95 damage. It was a bit of a risk, but he took it, and if he gets, that's the connection he was looking for right there, and may be able to finish him off.
Drynitz goes down. Overlord Prime hanging out with Gabriel Angelos for a little bit of time. Photo Finish could move up slowly but surely to finish this off. Overlord Prime waiting to get another shot here. Gets the rear of Gabriel Angelos, who's continuing to fire, and goes for the ram damage. Overlord Prime gets the kill, and Hammer Time as the defenders takes battle number 1 in this series.
No surprise after that first engagement. Right after that, there were losses for RBIS. They were too heavy, and their opponent came out ahead. And with that, the loadout, bringing the Waffentrager and the 2 T-32s, how are you going to defeat that when those 3 tanks are still alive after your initial assault? There's too many hit points and there's too much potential damage waiting for you.
As you look at this overmatch a bit in the north, but not because of the proximity of tanks, but because of the long-range fire from the red team. They had a good starting position and good starting movement to the north, but after that they started to take way too much damage. And we saw the result. Looking at the damage counter, though, Overlord Prime looked great. 20 shots fired, 11 of them hit and penetrated for almost 2,500 damage, 2,410. And right behind him, you have Photo Finish at 2,188. Well, 9 for 16, 13 hit, but not all of them penetrated.
Yeah, and this lineup is something to look at. Hammer Time's the only team to really bring consistently these T-32s and this Waffentrager. And it's odd that Drynitz isn't consistently the top damage dealer, because you have those RU-251s, which can still shine. And that's what I appreciate about this. The fact that you have a lineup which is so diverse and flexible because it can respond to so many different threats.
But what threat can they not respond to?
That's the thing.
That's the thing.
You don't know. There's nothing that I feel like this can't potentially defeat. You know?
Yeah. I agree with you in that sense, but then I think, well, what if they brought this or if they brought that? Oh, no, then that has a weakness or that can get worked around. And it's theory crafting with World of the Tanks with 7x54. It's fun, but you have to also keep in mind the skill and execution and so many strategies. On this one map alone, I'm going to think, I think some more east side plays going to happen for both these teams in battle number 2. What do we have for tanks?
All right, we've got T-32, 2 1390s, 2 RU-251s, 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs for RBIS, still attacking. Hammer Time, 2 T-32s, that 1390, 2 RU-251s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. So they've decided, because I'm going to assume, because Drynitz wasn't able to get the damage he was looking for last battle, they're going to go for something more flexible to play off of the style that RBIS showed first battle. That kind of highly flexible, using those light tanks they have to their advantage. And the way at the very end of the battle, Drynitz wasn't quite able to get the damage necessary.
Looking at the opening movement still from the red team. Using that west side, and there's a lot more eastern coverage happening from Hammer Time.
Yeah, and that east side coverage is a bit of a gamble, don't you think? With the fact that it completely leaves your west side exposed, that we've seen that problem before where the west cap is pressured and well covered, and then Hammer Time, the defender, is now turned into an attacker of sorts as they must reclaim their own cap. Well, we'll see if that's going to come about. It depends if RBIS is going to be quick enough on it to recognize that the entire west side is exposed and that they can take advantage.
Opening movement still, not a lot of scouting information for both these teams because they went for the opposite sides. Noble Bull and Sella closest to the center.
And that close to the center spot. I love that Bull. You're going to have Sella there, able to cover north, south, east, west, wherever he needs to be. And the vision on the middle is also excellent when you have a T-32.
Shot fired from Sella from long range, no connection, but a slow play coming from both these teams as Hammer Time, all they have to do is wait for RBIS to get close to the flag cap, which is set up looks very, very possible here as we get on the 5-minute mark.
Yep. It will be another minute or two until, maybe not.
Zazie hit for 211.
I was just about to say until fire begins getting traded. That was my expectation, but no. Nice shots, good spotting, good coverage by RBIS is going to punish Zazie and force him back, allowing, by the way, Unnommable and Akiyama to get into position without quite so many problems, you know? It was excellent timing right there, and lucky connections, I think, for RBIS.
Mi Amigo now cruising towards the center, along with Sella, who was hit earlier.
Oh, and this is interesting. They're going to move a T-32 to the north. This is something that doesn't usually happen. So most teams, we've noticed this in the past, have sent their T-32s into the middle around the Echo Foxtrot line in order to cover that area of the map and then begin their counterattack when the cap begins getting pressured, because there it goes. You have Ox Mathis on the cap right now. But with a T-32 in the south, this is a new area. This is a new response. That T-32... I'm going to have to see how that one works out. It depends on Big Cheese's ability to deal with whatever problems are presented to him. And also, if RBIS is going to be able to do anything about a T-32 with their current forces. 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs, yes, there's a lot of damage, but they're very soft, and they can't really pen a T-32 from the front at all.
Akiyama and Unnommable hanging towards the north. No trigger being pulled yet for them to engage, but they're ready, and Sella's getting hit for 205.
Here we go, up and over all the light tanks, and movement from the south to the north, kind of making the most hidden and undetectable approach. Photo finish up and over, but the pressure onto Sella. There's a lot of bounced shells.
Akiyama and Unnommable still trying to rain fire down towards the center. A lot of missed shells, as you said, Randall. Ox Mathis hits for twice. He gets hit 3 times. And now he's being surrounded and targeted as Hammer Time is sweeping towards their opponents, the aggressors, the attackers, RBIS. Try to stop them from getting on that flag cap. Still more shots fired here. Big Cheese is completely surrounded. Akiyama, Gabriel Angelos, and Unnommable are there to put a lot of hurt on this tank, but he could take down Akiyama, who's trapped himself and does fall.
Well, there we go. Big Cheese is proving to be a very dangerous tank in this area where all of the opponent tanks, Gabriel and the RU and the 2 M41s, are having a very difficult time penetrating and dealing enough damage. T-32s are just so beefy. And with that, you have enough time for Overlord Prime to show up and deal with this problem. Gabriel doesn't have the hit points to take him on, but with Amanda coming in, that could change things around, especially if he's loaded.
Unnommable wants to land this last shot against Overlord Prime, but it may go to missed shot from Big Cheese on Unnommable. And Unnommable turns around and fires for 150. Drynitz could be on the reload, and Amanda Hugginkiss pushing up to get the kills here against Big Cheese.
Smooth moves right there, sneaking without even touching the T-32. That was slick.
It's one-on-one. Amanda Hugginkiss and Drynitz, 2 1390s. Drynitz has the advantage because of the earlier reload time. Jackie, a.k.a. Amanda Hugginkiss, knows this, and he's going to be on the run. Drynitz on the chase. Minute and 34 seconds here. Drynitz also, if he had the chance or would want to, could escape and make Amanda Hugginkiss chase him for the win, but he wants the kill.
Yeah, let's not put it in.
And there's a missed shot.
That hit track and bounced.
Dryness trying to land another one here.
No, he's going to put distance between him and his opponent. He doesn't want to deal with this. He wants to mitigate the risk now. After bouncing one shell in a 1390, if you're on the move like this, you know you're going to bounce at least one, maybe two more. You cannot afford to because Amanda is too healthy. Now Amanda recognizes that he has that advantage. He has a full clip, Dryness does not, and this is the kind of fight which is going to happen in motion. Now the answer here, if Dryness stops and is able to connect all shells, he may get it. But Amanda is in pursuit with more shells. There's a lot of risk here. This is going to be very, very heavily based on their abilities to mitigate RNG and then make those shots count. So all of that marksmanship we were talking about with E63 earlier in the show.
No shots fired in the last 25 seconds between these two tankers. And there's the first one. Traded fire back and forth. They both connect. Another connection from both tanks. Dryness able to move around and misses one shot again against Amanda, it looks like.
Amanda has the advantage. He stopped first, and that's where you win in this kind of a fight.
And Amanda hug and kiss. Able to get that victory for RBIS, tying up the series. Missing a single shot makes a difference. It made a difference there for Dryness and for his entire team.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. You watched a light tank fight as it should unfold. So both players made good decisions, but the problem is that we had 1390 at the end on the defender side, the blue, the hammer time, missed that one shot. And there's where you recognize I have begun an engagement when my opponent can't fire back. I had that advantage, and I failed to connect. Because that, you now have one less shell, and your opponent will have shells soon. You've wasted time because that did not connect. And watch how Amanda kind of herds Dryness in. Dryness is unable to find a place to run to appropriately. He made a bit of a wrong decision in his planning of his route, and because this distance closed, that's when Amanda can stop and settle his gun and begin focusing in. That's where he won, right there.
You look at the very important victory as an attacker in this series, and you'll notice a pattern happening for some of these teams of it's okay, as soon as we get an attacking victory, then we can close this series. We'll rely more on the Himmelsdorf defense type of principle of nobody can break it. That is a very dangerous way of thinking. It's not necessarily wrong logically, but it's very dangerous because you can trap yourself into a corner and your opponent can completely surround you tactfully wise when it comes to strategy and implementation of blitz tactics or surprising the enemy on either side, either the defender or the attacker. We're going to switch sides now as RBIS will be on the defense and Hammer Time will be on the attack. They're going to maintain the same colors though. RBIS will still stay in red. Hammer Time will be in blue and we'll have a symbol of attack and defense to identify who's attacking, who's defending. What do we have for tanks?
All right, for tanks, now RBIS defending in the red. We'll have a T-32, a two 1390s, two RU-251s, and two M41 Walker Bulldogs. Now, Hammer Time's going to bring a Pershing this time, as they're on the attack and going for mobility, but with two 1390s, two RU-251s, and two M41 Walker Bulldogs, they almost mirror their opponent. The only difference is that you have that Pershing, played by Photo Finish, who will be slightly more mobile, but with just about the same gun, if not the same gun, that Sala brings on his T-32.
Give you an update on the Top Tier versus Full Potato matchup. Full Potato is up 2-0 against Top Tier. We'll keep you updated as that match continues to unfold. Looking towards Sala and Akiyama's placement as the defenders, vying for a little bit more of a Western approach, more Western movement for the scout Akiyama, and also selling the T-32. East side play coming from Hammer Time.
Yeah, and they're going to keep their distance, quite a distance in fact. And will RBIS make that mistake? Will they go and begin exploring the east side of the map? If Hammer Time can throw kind of a false positive at their opponent, that could bait something into the east side. You know what I'm talking about? Just kind of show up somewhere in the middle, maybe one of your lights, but with a connection to Ox Mathis, that changes everything, and that's going to
reveal. Gets hit as well. And there is a bit of that reveal on the flag cap. They already knew he was there because of that hit, but they don't know the rest of his team is. And Sela maybe moving into the T-32 to find out. That's going to split the map into quarters, and the red team, RBIS, will have control of most of it.
Yeah. Liebestad, though, represents a strong position. However, there's a weakness in this, and that is that there's no real control over that center area right where Sela is. Right across the train tracks. There's no tanks there to spot, and verify the presence of anything, which I think will come to bite Hammer Time in a few minutes.
Photo Finish and Dry Knits are moving towards the railroad tracks as Zazie, Big Cheese, Knits, and Overlord Prime are hanging back for some long-range firefighting and sweeping flanks in case that is an option for a pushover of RBIS of all the tanks moving over the railroad tracks at once. Not the case yet. Photo Finish fires towards Sella for a missed shot. One shot went towards him from further away.
And that Photo Finish position, this is a great spot for a perching. He's just the right height, just the right gun depression to fire just right through those train tracks, right under where the little T-34s are. And he can connect with the back or side of Sella's turret, deal a little damage before Sella can make a proper response. Just because of the angling, it's difficult for Sella to aim back towards his opponent.
Sella continues to hang back. 54 seconds left on the flag capture.
I think Gabriel may betray the intentions of RBIS here, as he's moving to the north, making this a heavy north counter push from RBIS on the defense. When they go up and over, you're going to see shots into Liebestad, counterfire from Overlord Prime and Big Cheese, but if Sella gets his timing right, which he goes over just in time, will grab some of the guns from Hammer Time, and the response should be moments away.
Sella looking for another opening shot against Dry Knits. He's going to go over and get shot twice for 497, getting closer, using the coverage of... Ooh, he's down. Yeah. Not enough time, but Dry Knits does get hit for 406, and here's the up and over coming from RBIS. From the northern side, taking down Dry Knits in concentrated fire. They're going to continue to move to the south. Akiyama on the move very quickly to find out what else is down below that we can kill. Photo Finish is that next tank. And look at this focus fire coming from RBIS and the return fire from Hammer Time.
But I feel like this is a botched counterattack from RBIS. They went up and over. I saw team damage. I saw tankers running into each other, a lack of proper momentum, the inability to connect those shots that were necessary. RBIS did not make the proper response. Hammer Time should be able to close this one out with no problem.
Gabriel Angelos hit to the front for 222. And then RU-251 struggling to keep this alive and struggling to stay alive as the rest of his team have moved into other quadrants. There's a man, a hug and kiss in the village itself, but a little too late to try to help out Gabriel Angelos, who quickly fell to the remainder of Hammer Time. And hug and kiss hit for 320 on Namable, up and over the railroad tracks. Last tank left alive. Trying to escape, maybe get a reset once or twice here, but 23 seconds left for the flag cap. This could be another victory here for the blue team, Hammer Time.
And very well should be, with just a few moments left on the cap. And Anomalable will try and go south. Knits looks like to be on target, and there he's spotted.
And he gets it. Hammer Time takes a victory. Currently 2-1 over RBIS. Eastside worked for them this time.
Yeah, it did. I felt kind of strange about it, though. It was more RBIS's botched counterattack than I think it was Hammer Time's competent defense. They did make a competent defense, yes, but when RBIS went up and over in the north, that was not ideal. You could see them set up for it. You could see all the tanks in the right position. There was clear intention and a clear goal, but it did not execute properly. Watch Gabriel Angelos go over. That is a connection into his own teammate, Amigo. That is not only damage on your ally, that is damage not going to your opponent, which is necessary for them to get that early lead. Now, Gabriel unfortunately runs into his ally yet again. I feel like I'm hating on him, but this is everyone not being on quite the same page, not making the same connections. RBIS just, they dropped it here. They dropped it, and Hammer Time was able to very easily, I think, defend that one and deal with the situation.
Where do they go from here, though? What's one thing that RBIS can change to give them a better run for their money on this map?
Taking a step back and saying, we made a mistake. We made a mistake. Move past it. Don't hang on it. And we can be just fine moving forward. But when we go over next time and we have to make a counterattack, let's do it right. Let's do it clean, and let's not put too many tanks up north. They probably could have thrown one down in the middle, and it would have been an appropriate response, probably more capable, and Sella might have lived a few seconds longer, which is all the time he needs to get out that one more shell.
Moving on into battle number 4, the last battle we're going to have on Prohorovka. Between Hammer Time and RBIS, Hammer Time is up 2-1 so far in the series. Randall, what do we have for tanks?
All right, looking at them, got T-32, 2 1390s, 2 RU-251s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs for RBIS, who are the defenders. Hammer Time is going to bring a heavier lineup with 2 T-32s, a single 1390, 2 RU-251s and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. So it's curious that Hammer Time is going to bring 2 32s, which tells me, and tell me if you agree, Josh, they're going to just bully their opponent out of their positions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're being calm, cool, collected, and ready to set up, at least in the first 2 minutes, to create this type of bullying positions, and go for it.
And there's a tweet from Barontor. Actually, he's a friend of mine. And he's watching this instead of the State of the Union. I think it's pretty good.
You can watch both.
No, just
we'll be going a lot longer than the State of the Union tonight.
Look, if Josh tries really hard, I'm sure he can do a good impression.
No, not tonight.
Not tonight? Okay. Not feeling it?
Not tonight.
Okay, maybe another time.
Don't get it twisted.
There you go.
All right, that's all you're going to get tonight.
Can you please commentate the beginning of a game in that voice? Yeah.
We've tried in a unilateral position to move these tanks together for a unified America. Sella hit for 236, not unified really in this front, coming from RBIS in the center. These 2 tanks are alone right now.
Oh, that was beautiful.
While the majority of their team are to the north.
All right, and now I'm seeing that shots are being fired from the backfield of RBIS, going towards these T-32s, up and over. Photo finish paying 482 and catching numerous bounces. All right, that's paying off really well. Big Cheese, though, stays behind, and that's going to give this a 2-layered kind of an attack. Photo finish is going to be the more forward observer and able to put out some shells at some angles that his allies can't, but he's covered on his flanks by Big Cheese, who's just a little ways behind. Also, Big Cheese can afford, because he's at a greater distance and has better cover, to be the one to pop out and make those shots. Photo finish can just take the top of his turret, that commander's cupola, peek it up and over the top, just barely over the hill, and he's going to begin spotting enemies.
More shots fired towards photo finish. That one got really close to hitting Sella. That is team fire, able to cover that tank. And the firing is stopped briefly here, as only Sella is the only scouted tank. Liebestad and photo finish were previously scouted. Now Big Cheese is seen, and Sella's hit again. Maintaining his position, the rest of his team hold as the defenders here for RBIS.
And where do we go from here is now the question. So Hammer Time, asking the same one, says, let's head out, let's move some tanks, and let's find another opening, because the Northwest is far too well covered for Hammer Time to be able to assault. It would be suicide, you know? So better to send your tanks to the east, take that flanking fire maybe onto Sella. We saw that earlier from RBIS. Now it could be turned around on them with Nitz, Zazi, and Drynitz.
And Sella continues to hold in that position. Looking at the rest of the red team holding back. They don't have to chase. They don't have to go after Hammer Time. They can make Hammer Time come to them. With 3 minutes and 48 seconds, that's going to happen soon. There's Gabriel Angelos, Miyamigo, and Akiyama, along with Amanda Hugginkiss, hugging that northern section, staying a little bit behind cover.
Yes, and now, just a few seconds away, Drynitz and Nitz and Zazi are going to go up and over into the east side, and that's going to split the team. Hammer Time is very exposed right now. If RBIS picks up on this, that counterattack would cripple the position of Hammer Time and not allow them to be able to make this attack work. Now, shots fired downrange. We've got Unnommable taking fire, but no hits. Oxmath is taking damage instead as he retreats back to the west. Unnommable could be pinned here.
Gabriel Angelos and Migo pushing up closer. Sella at half health, still maintaining that position. He'll be a huge asset in this firefight that is happening in a matter of moments. Gabriel Angelos, Amanda Hugginkiss, and Migo now pushing up. Amanda hit for 220 on the side. So Sella, Gabriel Angelos hit for 255. Photo finish the first target. Can they get him in time before they lose a tank? They can. Who's next?
Looks like Overlord Prime should be the next target, but they'll lose one themselves.
Overlord Prime almost decimated in a matter of seconds. He goes down. Amanda Hugginkiss, unfortunately, using a shot on a dead tank already. Liebestad on the run. It could be that Hammer Time cannot break through this here.
But the counter is here. Nitz, Zazi, and Big Cheese have arrived, and their opponents, Oxmathis and Numble, are in a lower ground. If they focus fire right, this could be a shift in momentum back into the favor of Hammer Time. We just need to see those proper connections. Nitz needs to stay alive, and Big Cheese needs to get close to his opponent.
Numble using the dead tanks as cover to whip around to try to hit Nitz, but he can't get it. It's 2 tanks against 3 with 2 minutes and 3 seconds left. Hammer Time has the tools, they have the talent, and they have the time right now to get this victory.
They just have to work it. RBIS can make this happen. They've got a minute 52. Amanda is going north. Nit's chasing after him. And Drynitz looks to have only 3 shells left against Akiyama. If Aki can just play for time, all he needs to do is play for time. Achieving that, you have it. And Drynitz missing 1 shell. It's going to hurt his ability to stop Akiyama. But with the track shot, all right, that changes everything.
Drynitz ready to land another shot. Looks like he's on the reload now. He needs to keep Akiyama in his sights for scouting purposes. Long-range fire can take down this tank.
Big Cheese misses the crucial killing shell.
Drynitz trying to get close and body block, can't get it. Now he's in between Big Cheese and Akiyama.
And a bounce. Big Cheese into tracks, then bounces. In the north as well, just to update you, Amanda still alive.
Big Cheese gets the shot on Akiyama, and he gets it. 1 minute 3 seconds for Amanda Hugginkiss to stay alive here.
1 hit point, by the way. I just realized that 1 hit point on Amanda Hugginkiss. Crossing the river, now through the woods, into the hills.
Over the river and through the woods to staying alive at Grandma's house we go, Amanda Hugginkiss. Drynitz getting real close to the flag cap on the eastern side.
There's not enough time for a cap.
No, there's not. It has to be a tank kill. It has to be a tank aside here. Big Cheese in that tank is going to take a while to find any of these tanks over here.
And Drynitz is taking one of the best routes.
I don't know why they're not going straight to the island, because
they don't know he's there. They don't know where he's running off to.
If there's one place I would go, it's the furthest place away from the tanks are, and that's on that island.
But you were spotted in the north, so one strategy is to actually go around and then be going southeast, which is what Drynitz one of a few options. You have numerous places you can hide, numerous bushes, high grounds. Amanda's chosen a place which doesn't have escape.
3, 2, 1, and RBIS is able to get the victory because Amanda Hugginkiss stays alive with 1 hit point left in his tank.
Not bad.
Two different options that you mentioned, Randall. He went for 1, and it worked.
Yeah, sometimes it pays off. You just have to play head games with your opponent. It's when you're left alive and you have seconds to be able to attain that victory by draw, well, by time, then you have a small tree of options. You can go southeast, you can go northeast, you can double back on your opponent and then decide to go northwest on Prohorovka. There's a chance your opponent's not going to check that area, assuming it's just a stupid idea. We saw when it was at Global Grand Finals, remember it was Simp getting a draw against what was it? The native Polish team there. You remember? That was
Lemming Train.
Lemming Train, thank you. Lemming Train. And they turned around an object 416 in a bush in the southwest to get the draw, which was something that blew everyone's minds because that didn't seem like the ideal way to run away. Most teams would just send that tank and say, go as fast as you can. But he did the opposite, and he just went into a spot that was perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect, and their opponents missed it because he turned around, made sure he couldn't spot the opponent. Everything was in order. Kind of what Amanda did. Put himself in a spot where he wouldn't be detected and couldn't even detect his opponent, which works both ways. You can't detect your opponent, but they're going to have trouble knowing that you detected them because Sixth Sense plays into that strategy. If you're spotted, you know your opponent is within range.
Yeah. Getting close to the next map, which is going to be Steps. RBIS called a timeout. Every single team tonight's matches has 1 timeout per match. So Hammer Time will still have an opportunity to call a timeout if they need to here on Steps. Currently tied 2-2. We've seen this quite often since probably week 4, week 3, for a lot of these teams that are towards the top of the standings to be able to tie up in the first map and then make the difference in Steps. And so looking at the patterns so far, Amanda Hugginkiss staying alive, or at least taking down Drynitz. He's been the linchpin of victories for RBIS for both of them, actually.
Yeah, I think so, but there are other players on the team. There's Ox Mathis, who, curiously enough, is not performing as well as he did last season, but that could be due to the other talent on the team. Now, also, you have Big Cheese, who's been playing well in that T32. Did an excellent job. He racked up 2,877 points in damage last battle.
Yeah,
so
he kept that consistent fire, that T32, going pretty much throughout that entire battle.
No cons.
It's slow. We all know it's slow, guys. I know. You don't have to point it out every single time we talk about the T32. We all know it's slow, all right? The no cons thing was fun. It's a nice hashtag. It created a little bit of personality for the tank, which we all like to see. Just go
Josh,
with it.
Josh, I didn't even say
A
that.
little bit of
though.
suspension of disbelief. That's all I'm asking for.
Josh, I didn't even say that.
No,
I
it's
just was.
okay.
I was just saying no cons.
I always appreciate the viewpoint of a realist, and a realist will agree that it's a great tank, but it's also slow. Battle number 5 between these two teams about to begin. What do we have for tanks?
All right, so we've got a T32, two 1390s, 3 RU-251s, and a 5916 for RBIS, the red team who's defending right now.
You didn't expect that from me tonight, did you?
No, I thought you'd just be like, yeah, no cons, and then I was like, okay, something's. I think I might. Did I hit a nerve?
No. Unfortunately, our generation, Randall's a very cynical generation, which is one of our greatest weaknesses, I think. But besides talking about that,
About this, Zazie.
let's talk
in
about this.
that M44.
What is happening, Zazie?
Yes. He did fire one shell, off into nothing, didn't even aim. He said, I've got a shell, why not?
Just trying to, make sure everything's working in the machine.
Yeah. Test fire. With live rounds.
Big cheese, that's the best way to test. Now going up the no man's road. On his own, and Unnommable and Gabriel Angelos are not going to take the bait.
That was very nearly devastating.
Yeah.
If they had recognized what they had and they'd gone for it, you would have looked at Hammer Time and said, ouch. So your Artie needs to get 2 kills. Just wipe 2 tanks off. That's the only way you're going to get this.
Unnommable, Akiyama, Oxmathis, Miamigo, and Sella now cruising up towards that northeastern position.
And at the same time, Zazie's beginning to get into position. We've got the M44 turning, looking east, zeroing. And with no spotting yet, he's looking north of the position Sella currently holds. Although I see a shift in his gun. And what's the spotting gonna get? If we
looking at any indication if any of these tankers have been spotted yet. Not seeing it on the UI.
No, Zazie doesn't seem to also know. Once Zazie looks at the position, and with the cap pressure, that should pull it. Actually, that's an interesting combo. Bring an artillery piece.
And have
Cap pressure.
And make the tanks come to you instead of trying to fire towards the tanks in
Or trying to
various sections.
Yeah, and instead of scouting them actively, go passive and give them a motivation to begin countering.
Look at this lineup. You got Sella, followed by Unnommable, then Akiyama and Mi Amigo, Oxmathis, Gabriel Angelos, Amanda Hugkiss. The gang's all here. And now they have to make that crucial decision of when. When do they push out? When do they go?
Soon, TM?
Soon, TM. Yeah, 70 seconds left. It's going to be between 70 seconds and 0 seconds, guys. We could pinpoint it there.
Yeah,
A lot of blind fire initially coming from the red team RBS, and Oxmathis is spotted.
Ah, finally, there we go. Shot could go out soon. Zazie is zeroing in that area. And shot out.
Looking for it, looking for it. Oh, close. Close to Oxmathis, but no cigar.
That's such a hard shot. I don't know why. I guess he went for it because it was the only spotted tank, but Oxmathis was in such a hard-to-hit position. I mean, the M44, yes, you get nice volume of fire, but a downhill shot like that from Zazie is quite a reach. But between shells, he is transitioning into the north to get a better angle on that, as Gabriel is going to be enclosing in.
30 seconds left. Gabriel is pushing in, as you mentioned, Randall, and Overlord Prime is shot back towards Oxmathis and Sella. And now more tanks are on the flag cap. 9 seconds left to go.
Shot out.
And there's the reset. Now it's back to 20. Now 6 and a return fire from Zazie. 457 damage on Sella. Photo finishes hit for 2 hits, 3 hits for 449. 3 seconds left to go on the flag cap. Can Hammer Time do it? Can they get the flag? And it looks like
Give it a
they
moment.
got it, waiting for confirmation here. Traded fire back and forth. And there it is. Base has been captured. Time was just a little bit longer there for those two teams, but nice job by Hammer Time. I really like this Artie offense on steps.
It's not bad. It worked out, but I think that in this situation, we had RBIS not responding properly.
Sure.
That wasn't aggressive enough. There was not proper return fire. Tanks on cap weren't taking fire at all, which... What were you doing on defense? What were you hoping to accomplish by not counterattacking? Did you think that Artie was going to ruin you? Did you think that long-range fire against an artillery piece was going to come out ahead? Because in M44, this is the ideal range. You're at a good 500 meters. You're elevated positions. It's ideal. It's it's an artillery player's dream. They lined up. There were tanks in small clustered areas. They were all trying to fire at one specific target. And I think Zazi was having the easiest time. He didn't get to deal all that much damage, 896, but he still dealt the most damage of any tank on the battlefield this time. Drynitz, Nitz, Photo Finish, Liebestad all dealt 0 damage. They didn't even need to deal damage to win because RBIS just didn't.
Yeah, they didn't.
That was disappointing.
They sat there. 2 out of 4 for Zazi and then M44. So being able to land those 2 shots and to keep an entire team at bay because of one Artie, that's the power of Artie.
Yeah.
That is the type of thought pattern for these teams, the type of recognition of why to bring an Artie piece compared to another tank that you could choose. Battle number 6 between RBIS and Hammer Time is about to begin right now. Will we see a repeat or maybe a shift coming from RBIS? What do we have for tanks?
We'll see T-32, just one of them, just one, from RBIS, the defenders, 2 1390s, 3 RU-251s, and a 5916. Hammer Time is deciding to heavy up with 3 T-32s, a single 1390 RU-251, 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. I think Hammer Time is playing this much smarter right now. They brought the Artie last time, they're switching it up, and with so many hit points on the battlefield, and if they bring the 105s, they've got enough decent alpha damage coming out. They can approach their opponent. If these T-32s work well together, it's easy. This should be a walkover because RBIS, while they can respond, doesn't hit as hard and doesn't absorb nearly as much damage. If this comes to blows, just straight up fight, Hammer Time's supposed to come out ahead. Bad play will hurt Hammer Time, but I don't expect that. Not with the way they've been playing.
But when it comes to mobility, RBIS can get behind these T-32s.
Who cares about mobility? You have T-32s. You have so much armor and hit points that these RU-251s, sure, they deal plenty of damage. Not as much as these T-32s are when they're clustered together. And you have enough light tanks. You've got the M41s, you've got your 1390, and you've got Liebestad in an RU-251. Gabriel is nearly dead. At the beginning of this, he's gone. Okay, there we go. Now you have even more of a hit point lead.
And the fire continues between both teams as Overlord Prime did take a hit in an initial skirmish there, and there's another shot towards Photo Finish for 244. Trading different positions and firing back and forth is RBIS currently. 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Barely even getting started and the tank has already fallen.
Exactly. All the advantages right now for Hammer Time. They're leading in the series. Their opponent doesn't seem to be responding as well as they are. I've seen mistakes from RBIS showing me that they're not necessarily on their game as much. And now T-32s get to move up. I like this. Leading the way. Right behind them, cover from Drynitz, Nitz, and from Liebestad. Between the 3 of them, should happen. Zazi will have the flank, which can come into play later, especially if RBIS tries to shift.
Sella moving up instead of backwards with the rest of his team, holding this position, and he gets hit.
And there's the shift. Look, Akiyama, Oxmathis, Unnommable, all moving west to begin a flank. Zazi's going to detect this, and that's going to give Hammer Time the indication that they should move in. Move now. Or not. What do you... Dang it.
Sella holding in that position.
There we go. Overlord understands. Forward's the best direction right now. You recognize that there's flank fire on you. Why stay here? You're going to take more. Move forward. So little hesitation from Hammer Time in that situation as they come to their decision, but they finally made it, and that's cat pressure. They should be able to take on Sella along with Amanda, and as Liebestad moves up, going to pressure him out of position.
And when they put that flag cap pressure there, they know Sella's the first target, but they have to be very mindful of everything around Sella and behind him. Liebestad is getting lit up to the north. He could be the next tank to fall. Sella getting surrounded from Hammer Time. Liebestad does go down. Sella, the next target. Overlord Prime gets behind, fires, and they get the kill. And here's more return fire coming from RBIS, the defenders. But look at this pinpoint accuracy coming from the 3 tankers moving in, adjusting to a new target. That marksmanship is looking fantastic from Hammer Time.
Yeah, now Nitz finding Mi Amigo is tracked in the open, but Drynitz is going to pick up that kill instead.
Hammer Time leads with tier points, 38 to 32 currently. Oxmathis is hit, 234. Photo Finish, another shot. Hammer Time continuing to use this current position, either back up and get behind cover or find the next target. Well, there's enough targets from RBIS to push in and get a kill against Photo Finish. And that could be the case here. Yes, it is. And Oxmathis is low. Big Cheese looking for that last shot. Looks like he can't get it. Oh, he does, but it doesn't take down Ox Mathis. Now from behind, here comes Unnommable and Akiyama.
And these hit points, they should come into play. But where's the teamwork from Hammer Time? We need a regroup.
Where's Zazie? There's no reason Zazie should be that far away. And now as he's moving towards the rest of the firefight, that southern corner, at least if he was scouting, there's no movement there. Unnommable and Akiyama now firing against Zazie, who's able to get the kill. Akiyama fires and misses against Zazie. And then Walker Bulldog, that consistent fire could save some time, but he goes down. 2 against 2. Amanda Hagenkiss could be the next target to fall. Long-range shot. Nitz gets it. It's Nitz and Dry Nitz versus Akiyama. RBIS on the run as the defenders with 2 minutes and 27 seconds left.
And it looks like Nitz has just found Akiyama. They're spotted. See the indicators on the left and right of your screen. And shots fired, but Nitz is going to go to kind of cut off Akiyama. At the same time, Dry Nitz moving in from the east. Akiyama has nowhere to run but south. And because of that, it should be an easy closed match. Nitz moving in will have fire on Akiyama. There's not quite enough hit points to shrug this.
Nice lineup from Nitz. It's a miss, though. He fires back towards Nitz. He gets hit himself for 160. And Akiyama continues to be chased.
That was it. Nitz shouldn't have stopped. Stopping allows Akiyama to put distance. And with 1:40 left in this one, okay, Dry Nitz going north will allow him to cut off Akiyama. But will Akiyama play something sneaky? Will he stop?
Minute 30.
That's it. There we go. Okay. Drifts around. Turns it. Nitz and Dry Nitz are going to fly right by.
And now they could leave. No, Nitz is close enough to get the... Yes, he's spotted. They're both spotted. They know they're there. Minute 15 for Akiyama to still try to dodge. Shooting back and forth, 152 to 250. Dry Nitz turn around, get there. Nitz, however, is able to hold the line. Gets the kill and the victory for Hammer Time, 4-2 in this series.
I thought he was going to get it. I thought that turnaround was perfect, but the head games... we saw this earlier in the series. So when Amanda ran away and was able to survive with that 1 hit point, that was that head game. Now we see that with that was Lieberstad right at the end there? No, that was...
Dry Nitz and Nitz.
Against Akiyama, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Aki, sorry. Got mixed up. Akiyama tries to do that turnaround, play that head game again, but we have that prediction, and I have to give it to Nitz right there, recognizing the potential for his opponent to turn around like that and say, I think I can trick you. I think I can trick you. But that situation shouldn't have occurred at all. I saw those 3 T-32s, I saw the focus, I saw the coordination, and it was working. See this? Your opponent is now out of position. Everything's going your way. Amanda's in a raised position that you can kind of work with, but Lieberstad should have been able to deal with that. He's a little confused.
I really liked the formation from Hammer Time, but the one thing that scared me was Zazie's position in the very south. The moment that you know all 7 enemy tanks are spotted, you need to get to that position in order to get in the firefight. And Zazie was hanging down there just a little bit too long. If they had a different type of strategy, if he was playing really long-range quarterback, of trying to maybe stop any escaping tanks after the firefight, and that's a lot of confidence coming from those 6 tankers in that matchup.
Yeah.
A tier 6 counts. It really does. It really does. It's not like a T1 Cunningham back in 7x42 days where you could semi-dismiss it. It makes a difference. Here we go. Battle number 7 between our 2 teams. Hammer Time is up 4-2 against RBIS. What do we have for tanks?
This will be cute. Object 416 for the side of RBIS. We've got 2 1390s, 3 RU251s, a 5916 to finish out that lineup. Object 416 represents quite a bit of damage. Now the 2 T-32s already line up from Hammer Time. They're going to have Zazie again in an M44 with 2 1390s and 2 RU251s to kind of play that scout role. I think this will go well for either side. Depends on a lot of little things on the teamwork there.
There you see that Object 416. A turret cannot fully rotate. Rotates at a degree angle to the front of the tank. One of the best advantages of an Object 416 is its low profile.
Exactly, and the turret does bounce shells every once in a while. If you're up against tanks like... Oh, shot fired, by the way. Nothing. Not in the right direction.
Give you an update on the Full Potato versus Top Tier series. Full Potato wins 5-1 against Top Tier. Again, Full Potato beat Top Tier 5-1.
Oh my gosh. Top Tier, you've done it again. Yeah, I don't know
That's a
what's
big upset and a big victory for Full Potato here.
Definitely is a big victory for Full Potato, but top tier, what's happening there? I'll have to explore that later. Shot out, by the way. Any connections? Nothing.
Negative. No connections yet. You look at the northern position happening for RBIS. Now the attackers hammer time the defenders. Talk about advantages. 2 attacking wins and battle 5 and 6 for hammer time. Really love that Zazie M44 play. I mean, not necessarily the amount of damage he dealt, but what happened. It kind of broke the strategy for RBIS.
I think RBIS isn't approaching this as well as they could. I think it's in the tank choices that we could see some differences in the way they approach taking on an artillery piece. Shot out from Zazie.
And it's close to Akiyama and Sella, but no Cigar, and they're going to fall back. They're going to move away from those rocks.
Well, with good reason. You just had an arty shell land very close. Didn't really do much, though.
I don't know. Would you... Can lightning hit the same place twice? Would you move your tank right to where that arty thing hit? Right where the shell hit?
Arty doesn't have a good chance of hitting the same place twice. You're right about that, but...
Still, it's close enough. There's another one. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. That's how close it was. It's about a tank length away. I mean, T-32 could fit right between there, barely.
Yeah. When it comes to lightning strikes, is like a foot difference acceptable? Is that the same place?
Yeah.
Is that a thing shot out?
It's all relative, yeah, right?
Yeah. It's like the same place. Is that like the same field? Is that the same tower? Does it have to strike the same way?
I think a bolt of lightning is a foot in diameter. Then it's that 1 foot. Maybe.
Can it vary in size?
I don't know.
These are all questions.
We'll have to ask a meteorologist or a scientist. Gabriel Angelos now putting himself on the flag cap.
Well, you couldn't ask a chemist, could you?
I don't know.
I don't think you could. Shot out from Arty.
Akiyama, Sella, now Bollox Mathis hanging back here. Setting up staggered attack run in order to guard this flag cap.
Yeah, it's very strange how you've got Oxmathis to the south like that. It tells us that RBIS is expecting a south approach on the counterattack, and that would go horribly for hammer time if they attempt. But if they can just defend the cap just like this, you've got Drynitz, comes up, peeks, shot out, Gabriel Angelos, but down by 508, and he has to back off. A little bit more and he will go down, but that's going to give hammer time another few minutes before anything happens. I think RBIS went for a very bland kind of a pressure. They said, put a tank on cap, expect the south attack. Their opponent, hammer time, has an arty, and they have light tanks, and they have T-32s. They have all of these options to respond to your attack in a way that RBIS is not prepared to counter. And so you see that kind of failing without really much to say about it, because it's so very simple of a failure. Now you have to have RBIS push in at a hit point disadvantage against an opponent who is entrenched, has a nice high ground, hold down positions. Drynitz is going to be able to see this coming 300, 400 meters away. I wanted to say a mile, but it's not.
And a number of tanks are spotted on the side of RBIS, and a Mi Amigo and a Numble are the first 2 hits as they're trying to get closer to hammer time to screen the cap, if you will, to engage away from where the one tank, Gabriel Angelos, is staying to get that flag cap. And they're on the chase against Liebestad and Overlord Prime. 2-3 hits against Liebestad.
And now at the same time, they put a tank on cap. Gabriel will stay there, putting pressure on as they begin chasing down Liebestad, who is getting wrecked
And there's
already.
another kill coming from hammer time. Liebestad still staying alive. And Zazie, Big Cheese, and Photo Finish are now turning their turrets to engage the tanks following Liebestad, and this is going to be big. Zazie fires for a big hit against Akiyama. Not sure if it connected. Zazie could be the next tank to fall, though. He is low. Can't get another shot out. Photo Finish is going to move in. Minute 45 seconds for hammer time to hold this. And here comes Overlord Prime from behind. Akiyama very low. He goes down. Mi Amigo with 2 shots left. Trying to get one more against Overlord Prime. Can't get it. And no, he did get it. Overlord's on fire trying to get out of there.
Yeah, and he burns down, but it's over. And now Big Cheese may go down as he's facing up against Amanda, who does fire faster, a little bit more DPM, comes out ahead in that.
Mi Amigo on the run, minute 18 seconds on the battle clock, 71 seconds for the flag cap. Mi Amigo hit for 260. Nitz moving up, 242. Nitz wants that last shot. He wants that kill. Oh, he hits the tracks. Mi Amigo still stays alive, barely. as Gabriel Angelos is still further away, and a nice shot from long range against Nitz. Amigo on the chase.
I see where Nitz is going. This is a suicide run from him. He needs to stop the cap. That's the only thing he has to worry about. Gabriel recognized that's on the way.
And look at that long-range fire.
Oh, Anomalable drops off a high ground for 300 damage on himself, and that's going to go down to Nitz.
And Gabriel Angelos falls. Nitz and Dry Nitz live to get the victory against RBIS with 39 seconds to spare for the defenders. Well played by Hammer Time. That was quite an agile firefight.
Yeah, I think RBIS didn't look to be playing as well as they have in past matches, though. Hammer Time looked good. I like their strategy. It was all comprehensive. It was all well played. But the mistakes out of RBIS are what hurt them today.
It was steps. As soon as that M44 was seen, the teams did not commit. The RBIS did not commit to attack, and it went downhill for them after that.
I think it started sooner than that. I think it started on that first up and over when RBIS had to counterattack when they were on defense in Prolorovka. When they had to do that early in the series, they made their mistake, and the tone was set for the rest of the match. You didn't see RBIS play nearly as well as the battles went on.
All right, well played by Hammer Time. That does it for our first matchup. Our second match, I Love Lamp versus Elevate, begins after this. Stay tuned.